We are live.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, this is so exciting. So we have it's a thing. I don't think it's working on Facebook. I
It's a
don't think it's
thing.
working. It's a
That's
thing.
amazing.
Facebook has changed. Facebook has changed their the way that we've always streamed into Facebook, and it looks
Broadcasting
like
now.
we're not able to do it this way anymore, but we shall see. Um,
Is it coming through?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Well, it is what it is.
I don't think so.
Okay.
But we are very excited to talk about the Passover. And what we're going to have to do, it looks like, is we'll have to post this because we are streaming live on YouTube. And so what we'll have to do is post this into our Facebook after we're done. So, kind of a bummer. We're trying to figure this out. In April of 2024, Facebook changed their algorithm and they no longer take third party stream platforms into a group. So, there are workarounds that I've been trying to figure out, but it obviously didn't work. So, that's a bummer. But whenever you're watching this, we're super excited. We're very excited to talk about Passover and Omer and all of those things. So I don't know. You think we should just jump right in?
Yeah, let's just jump in. Let's just jump in because there's no time like the present.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. Well, we wanted to invite you guys to explore Passover. And today we begin the holy season of Passover. It starts today. It is called Pesach in Hebrew. And this, I feel like it's just an incredible time that we are in. We know that God is up to something. This it's been a lot, even just since 2020. It's like
Yeah.
every Passover, we started celebrating Passover in 2018. So this is going to be our seventh Passover, which is so crazy. Because I remember going to Israel and we came home. It was 2 weeks before Passover, and then we were like, we've got to do this. So
Yeah.
we no idea what it was all about. And we've learned so much every year.
And we're
So
still learning.
we are still learning. Every year we learn more and more about it. So that's so cool. And what I also love is about 4 years ago, we discovered the Omer and the counting of the Omer and what that meant. And that was sort of like this, you know what? God he has 2 times of the year where there's 7 week stretches. And this is the Omer. It's the time when the wheat sheaf, that's why it's called Omer. It's about the wheat or the barley.
I think it's about 2 pints. I think an Omer is about 2 pints in terms of amount.
Of weight.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And that's what this season is. And so there's so much in that, and we'll be diving into different aspects of the Omer. But we just wanted to share with you guys that when we discovered it, it was like, wow, God has a plan for that 7 weeks between Passover and Pentecost. And it's really to prepare our hearts to receive his promises, his liberation, and his freedom. Because what he was all about is his heart was always about showing his people who he was, who he really was. And that's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's kind of neat because it took us 2 years just to say it right. We used to call it Omer.
That's
So,
right.
it's like it's just a learning. And the cool thing is that God always opens up more and more to it because now it's not about following the law. It's about experiencing God and his heart in it. And of course, that's what he wanted even back in the day, but it's even more so now. And so if you can picture it, this is the backdrop is God's people are living under the weight of oppression. They're crying out for deliverance.
Mm.
And then deliverance comes in the form of a courageous leader named Moses. And of course, Moses is backed by the mighty hand of God. And when you have God on your side, well, you're good. So Passover really marks this moment when God's people were set free from the chains of slavery in Egypt. And it really becomes a defining moment in Jewish history. It's a beacon of hope for all time. In fact, not even to get too far down the road, but I mean, literally the way that time is measured in the Hebrew calendar is from how long they are past the demarcation of deliverance from Egypt, right? I mean, that's literally becomes their sort of starting point. But, you know, that being said, Vicky and I do not profess to be Hebrew scholars by any stretch of the imagination. I do have a degree in Bible, but we're not putting ourselves out there as theologians. However, we have spent a lot of time studying this, and we are passionate about learning everything we can and then sharing that experience with you. This is a process, and we're just excited to be in that process with you. So our desire is to really stir up a hunger in you, to start searching the scriptures and to fall more in love with Jesus, which I still can't say it, man. It's all of a sudden I stopped being able to talk. With each passing day, we really want you to be able to experience that closeness and intimacy with him. And so part of this comes from embracing an inheritance. And that inheritance comes to us through the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So Jesus came here to earth to fulfill the law, not to abolish it, right? It was never so that we could stop celebrating or aligning ourselves with God. It was just, look, this, at first, you're celebrating this because you are looking forward in anticipation to the day when the Messiah comes and fulfills all this, right? Then the Messiah comes and he fulfills all this, and now you can look forward to his second coming as you celebrate the heart behind the law, right? And that's really what this is all about. So our hope here is just to bring you some information about Passover, all of the other set apart holy days and celebrations, because it's kind of cool. It's literally calibrating your life around God's rhythms, around the way that he designed things to be. And it's just kind of exciting. So there's two things that we want to emphasize here. First, do not, please, for the love of God, do not get religious with this. This is not about following the rules and specifications and regulations. This is about connection to God, period. Jesus came to bring the Spirit, right? He came and then left so that the Spirit could come. And the relationship that he desires with us, he wants that to replace the law. Not get rid of the law, but to replace it so that it's literally on our hearts, in our hearts. And so we are experiencing this in freedom in Jesus, so that this is our tradition, our celebration, and we encourage you to make it your own. Just like how people celebrate any holiday, like Christmas, for example. Well, you know, there's Christmas, but everybody has a little bit of a different way of celebrating. Everybody has their own family traditions around it. That's kind of what we're talking about there. So the second thing that we want you to remember is that for those of us who come to Passover from a Christian perspective, please do so with humility and reverence. We want to honor the traditions of our Jewish brothers and sisters, while at the same time embracing the fullness of our freedom and faith in Jesus, right? Understand, as I said, Jesus did not abolish the law. Right. It was never meant for us to celebrate it. When Constantine legalized Christianity, you know, around 300 AD, he took all the Hebrew roots out of the faith, and they were not even allowed to celebrate these. So you could say he kind of took these deep, meaningful elements and just completely stripped it away out of the feasts. And that honestly, in some ways, changed the trajectory of the Christian faith.
Yeah, definitely it did. I think back to that time, and there's so much written about him, that he was this Christian leader, and wow, it's so much. And I think about that and imagine the loss and the decimation, really, about all of the foundational ways that God designed alignment with him, and how for years and decades, these people that were Jewish, that were followers of Jesus, that were followers of Yeshua, all of that got taken away. Everything changed. Even their Sabbath day was changed from Saturday to Sunday.
Yeah.
And it was because it was a sun god worshiping day. It had nothing to do with
Mithra.
God. Yeah. So intense when you think about it. So we want to experience the whole of God. We want to experience what it means to live with him and for him and be aligned with him. And it has come to our understanding in these last 7 years, as we've been searching out the Hebrew roots, that our trajectory got taken off course when that happened. So Jesus did not abolish all of these things. Actually, Constantine was a big part of abolishing all of that, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. So our message with everything that we do here in Inspired Life, and we were talking about this yesterday, like how we wanted to really experience Passover. And one of the words that came to mind was celebrating a mindful Passover.
Yeah.
And I really loved that, because Passover is more than a historical event. It's really meant to be an experience of remembrance of liberation, right? Like Dan was talking about. So it's from the unleavened bread to the bitter herbs, like all the things that you do when you're doing a Seder to remember the sacrificial lamb, all of the things, every element of the Seder tells that story.
Yeah.
And it's a story of bondage, redemption, and a God who hears the cries of his people and acts on their behalf. Incredible. That's what we're aligning with. That's the power.
Yeah, it is powerful, because, the thing is sometimes people feel like they don't want something to become just a ritual. And I totally get that. But God also understood our need to have both something new and something familiar. And so
that's good. Yeah.
So easy for us to forget. I mean, I am embarrassed at how easily I forget everything God has done for me in the past. How just the right set of circumstances brings me to the point where I'm just like despairing, right? As if God isn't so much bigger than what I'm dealing with in the moment, as if God hasn't proven so many times that he comes through for me, right? So I think it's good. It's good to have a regular remembrance. I think that's why God built this system, in a way into things, just how it operates. It's not even a system. It's just the way things work. It's the seasons. It's everything.
Yeah. And it makes me even think about the weekly Sabbath. That's the weekly. Yeah. He wants us to remember that weekly. Right. I mean, he calls us to set it apart weekly, because he knows how easy it is for us to forget.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it's nice. It's like it's actually it's a kindness on the part of God. It's really a kindness on the part of God. He's like, you know what? I'm always going to be welcoming you into celebrating these moments with me, right? Yeah. Just like how parents look forward to those moments when their children are grown up and they're moved away, and those moments they get with them, coming back, and they just anything they can do to just celebrate, let's celebrate Flag Day. I mean, whatever, any excuse, right, to connect. And so for Christians, we celebrate the Passover story because we know that it was fulfilled in the person of Jesus, right? Throughout the Old Testament, prophets were speaking of a Messiah to come, a deliverer that would set the captives free. This is something that the Jewish people have been looking forward to for generations. And then finally, in Jesus, that promise finds its ultimate fulfillment. And the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world did just that. And so it's on the eve of Passover that Jesus is gathering with his disciples for a meal that would, and again, no hyperbole, that would literally change the course of history. And so they're sitting around, reclining at the table, eating. Jesus takes the bread and the cup, blessing them, gives thanks. This is my body, he said, given for you. This is my blood shed for you. And in those simple yet profound words, Jesus is weaving together the threads of Passover into the fabric of the Christian faith, forever linking his sacrifice to the story of liberation and redemption. And what an amazing, beautiful story that is.
So, so, so good. And really, we're entering into a sacred rhythm of Passover. It is. And we want to encourage you to pause and reflect on the meaning of liberation, not just for ancient Egypt and ancient Israel, right? But the liberation that's offered to us through Yeshua, through him. And really to make this personal. Make it personal for you today, in the year 2024, in the year 5784 on the Hebrew calendar. What is that personal? And so we want to pose to you a question. We want to ask you this question. What is God liberating you from today?
Yeah.
And what comes to your mind, write it down. If you want to be so bold to put it in the comments for all of us to be in agreement with you, go for it. If you're watching this on a replay or now, but write it down in a journal somewhere, because we believe that he is already liberating you from that as we speak. And we believe with you.
Yes.
When you focus, what you focus on, you get more of. So when you focus on the relief of these things, we know that whatever God is bringing in this season, you can be sure that there is a work happening of healing, of liberation. And this is really everything that we do in Inspired Life, and through Freedom from Grief, through the grief recovery method, because it is what our desire is, to help people break free from wounds, past hurts, traumas, disappointments, all of these things, because that's what creates these mindsets and these belief systems that keep you in your own prison, keep you in your own prison and in your own bondage.
Yeah.
And you can be walking around free as a bird, but you're not free when you have these limiting beliefs that are fully tethered to loss and pain and trauma.
Yeah.
And that is the power of breaking free. And so we want to always engage with that and in that, because what we believe Inspired Life is all about is growing emotionally and growing spiritually, and how we meet there at that intersection of emotional growth and spiritual health. We love that. That's what gets us awake in the morning, seriously. And I love this season of Passover because it calls us to celebrate liberation, and it brings hope and freedom to all who could receive it. We don't want anything to stop you from receiving that.
Yeah, it's like in Ephesians, right? It talks about God desires for us to be made whole and holy, right? And remember, holy doesn't mean super spiritual. It means that you're in union with God. That's holiness. Union with God is holiness. That's also, by the way, where all healing takes place. And so in a lot of respects, Passover is more than just a holiday. It's more than just an event on the calendar. It's really an invitation to step outside the busyness of our lives.
Yeah.
And to step into the sacred space of remembrance and reflection. And so as we're gathering around the table at Passover, we want to do so with hearts that are open to the beauty, to the mystery of God's redemptive work in the world. And we hope that, like the Israelites of old, we find ourselves transformed by the power of his love. That's really what we're after. And so we are extending an invitation to you to join us as we begin a 7-week pilgrimage of transformation that starts on the second day of Passover. That's when the counting from Omer begins, right?
Yeah.
And so tomorrow we begin counting the Omer at sundown. And we would love if you would join us for this. We're going to be posting daily in our Inspired Life Facebook group and in our Inspired Life app. So we're going to have the links below so that you can download our app for free, by the way. Just keep that in mind. But we would love if you would join us.
Yes. So it's so good. And as we embark on this 49-day pilgrimage, which is aligning with the power of this very special season, God was preparing his people. Imagine that. So God was preparing his people as they came out of Egypt for the promised land. And then when Jesus fulfilled that, Jesus came back in that same time frame and was preparing his followers, right? All
Right.
the way he was fulfilling everything. Jesus fulfills it all. It's so amazing. And that's what we're aligning with. Power of that right now.
Mm.
What is God? Imagine if you were going into your promised land. And of course, we know the story. When they got there, they were afraid. And everything looked too big and too daunting in the promised land. Are you facing something right now that God is calling you into? Something that maybe you've never been this close to, a dream of yours, or something you feel really called to. And as you get closer, it looks much harder. The giants in the land, you're like a grasshopper compared. Like, I'll never make it. I'll never. And we are here to experience this time of what God was intending to be. He was showing them who he was. And we break this down. This month is so exciting to
Yeah.
break down. And we do that in our coaching. And if you guys want to be part, if you're not already part of our Inspired Life coaching, we encourage you to check it out. It is our membership, and we love, love, love. We meet twice a month on coaching calls that dig deep, deep, deep into all of these things and aligning each month. So it's very, very, very exciting. But we are all about this. So we're very excited for these next 49 days, which you can tune into. You can embrace every Friday, by the way. We are going to be live in the Facebook group. We will have this little tech issue all figured out by then. So we can go live. We'll be in the Facebook group. It'll also be streaming in the app. You can watch it also on our, we do have a YouTube channel. And we're going to be breaking down the week, and we're going to be open for Q&A. We'd love to get your input, things that maybe you've had breakthroughs, aha moments, the things that you're learning. We'll be live every Friday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time in there. And we will be posting every day in the Facebook group for with encouragement to you guys, and of course with the words of the day, the prayer of the day, as we count the Omer. And something kind of cool about the Omer is the Omer counts up. It's not a countdown. It's kind of like sometimes you count down to a day. The Omer counts up because the idea is that every day you're learning, you're growing, and you are becoming a person on a higher level, in a sense, right? You're a different person from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
And even in the sense of when you give in Passover, it's about having like the unleavened bread, right? Unleavened bread, you don't eat anything with leaven, and there's so much symbolism in that as well that we're going to be breaking down over the course of this next week. But at the end, when you come to that Pentecost celebration, you're actually bringing a double portion as what you're giving as your what is that word? Not sacrifice. What you're giving, your can't think of that word.
Attention.
What?
Effort.
No, you're bringing you're bringing your bread, your sacrifice, there's a word. I can't think. Yeah, but something else. Anyway, it's a double portion because by the end, it's double. You've grown. It's just so different. I'll think of it. Maybe it's sacrifice. Maybe that's the word I'm thinking
I
of.
don't know.
Anyway, what you're giving. So we're excited to share that with you guys. So we will be live every Friday to break it all down. And for the next 7 weeks, you guys, it's going to be very cool. We're excited for that.
Yeah, we can't wait to experience this season together. Every Friday, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, live in Facebook, on the app. We're going to be wrapping up the week. And like I said, we would love to hear from you. We would love to go through this 49-day journey with you. So we'll see you on the Friday live. And in the meantime, happy Passover.
Yeah, happy Passover. Shalom, you guys.
Shalom.